So, what was real and what maybe wasn't? We try to decipher next on Locked on Jazz. Bum 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 bum. Pow.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, how are you? I am David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, and this is the April 11th edition of Locked on Jazz. We will look at what was real and what wasn't. Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen. Should we be that excited? Ochai Agbaji. What did we learn? And what about the last 20 games, which might not have been so real? How should we decipher that? Plus, we'll do a little play-in previews for the two games tonight. Get you ready for those, and we'll do our lottery. 20% chance we haven't hit yet. Maybe today is the day. As I mentioned, I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider, and this is Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thanks so much, all you everydayers, and all you have made Locked on Jazz our first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps. We are free on YouTube. Great community there on YouTube, so subscribe, hit the bell button. Please follow. 5-star reviews are loved and will start to be rewarded on the show. I think we need to start giving some love to those 5-star reviews of the program as well. So thank you very much to all you who do that. This is Locked on Jazz. We're here every day for you. Bite size, 30 minutes every day. All right. So I want to look at this point, like what's real and what's not. And really, by the way, for all you everydayers, super appreciate you still being here. I think this is some of the best stuff we do, kind of deciphering the season, getting ready for the draft, getting ready for free agency, some of the most interesting stuff we do. So thank you so much for being a part of it and being a part of us every day. And even though the season's over and there aren't games to analyze anymore, and I think we can learn a ton from the playoffs. The game changes. Really, if you can't drive, you can't shoot, and you can't drive, you can't play. I think that's what you're going to see. That was the story last year in the playoffs. Was if you can't dribble and you can't drive and you can't shoot, you can't play. And we'll see if that turns out to be true again this year in the playoffs. So thank you so much for staying with us. All right. So let's look at what's real and what's not. The first thing that was real is Lauri Markkanen. And that's probably the single most exciting thing if you're a Jazz fan, is that was real. Dan Clayton in his Salt City Hoops, or Salt City 7 or something, had some great numbers. We've got similar versions of it. To steal his for a second, Markkanen had a true shooting percentage, and true shooting percentage takes free throws and three-point shots and, values them inside of 64%. It's really, true shooting percentage is a number that has not taken off inside of general basketball, but it's the best number out there because it credits you for going to the line. It's a little bit of a variation off our points gained. In the last 3 years, the only players to average 25 points per game and score at a true shooting percentage of 64% are Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic, Steph Curry, Zion Williamson, Joel Embiid, Dame Lillard, and now Lauri Markkanen. So that's pretty great. On points gained, which is our offensive metric, Friday will run through the season end. Points gained, Lauri was a plus 2.4. What does that mean? That means that if in the 20 scoring opportunities a night that Lauri was using, he was scoring at 2.4 points more than league average players in the league would. The only players better, Jokic, considerably better, almost 2 points better, Durant, Embiid, Steph Curry, Dame Lillard, Zion Williamson, Domantas Sabonis, and then Lauri Markkanen. What's also real was that the Jazz offense was the number 5 or 6 or 4, depending on where we were in the season, offense in the league before the trades. And so not only was Lauri real, but Lauri was directly contributing to an offense that was productive and good. Now, in the second half of the season after the trades, that offense was not good. I think it finished 27th in the league, and some of his numbers start to dive because of it. The second note on this is some of just his pure shooting stuff. Like he's There's a realness to it. One of them is his catch and shoot stuff. The ability of the Jazz to get him catch and shoot looks, often off the move, or when people go under picks, or he's getting it quickly. At 7 feet tall, his ability to get those looks, he ended up taking 7 catch and shoot threes a game and making 41%. Big number of catch and shoots. Like if you suddenly look across the league, 6.87 it's a high number, and that 7 feet with that shooting window that never goes away. Lauri took the second most catch and shoots behind Klay Thompson of anyone in the league, and he shot 40%. It's pretty great. Of guys who took more than 5 this year, it's pretty incredible how many guys were able to hit 40% or more. That's where this league is just nuts. Guys who took 5 or more catch and shoot threes this year that hit 40% are Pat Connaughton, Andrew Wiggins, Al Horford, Steph Curry, Jeremy Grant, Cameron Johnson, Michael Porter Jr., LaMelo Ball, Trey Murphy III, Keegan Murray, even Tim Hardaway was close, Buddy Hield, Lauri Markkanen, and Klay Thompson. The next step was trying to add some off-the-bounce three to his game, which he really didn't have at all. Any type of pull-up game. Can he start to play off the bounce with the ball in his hands? Can he come off a screen, put it on the deck, they go under, he's able to pull for 3. Much harder to do at 7 feet tall. He did it about once a game. He only made 30%. Okay, so that's real. That's not a shot he has right now. Isolation is the next thing that's going to be whether or not he becomes a star. A real go-to star. The top isolation guys in the league who run the most isolations. Shea, Luka, Julius Randle, actual Pascal Siakam, he's just not good at it. Joel Embiid, Giannis, DeMar DeRozan, Jason Tatum, Spencer Dinwiddie impressively. We'll see how that works in the playoffs. Mike. Anthony Edwards, who's not very good at it yet. Paulo, who's bad at it. James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving, Jimmy Butler, Dame Lillard. Like, those are the guys, right? Those are the guys who make the plays, do those. Lauri, those guys are running over, all those guys ran over 500 isolations with Shea and Luka at 900. Lauri's at 150. That's just not, he's the 13th best of the 90 guys that ran 150. This is a make-believe number because he's at 162, so I just did it to put him in there. So he's the 13th best, but he's the 13th best because of the fact he just picked his slots. He picked his moments in time in which to be able to do it. And more often than not, he had a matchup that was right. Later in the year, I remember vividly when we're in Miami and some other times later in the year, post-All-Star break, we start to just give him the ball and suddenly say to him like, okay, how about you just try to go on your own and see what happens? And it was not always very successful. If you set February 1st as his date of his first date, after February 1st on isolations, he averages 0.836 on 66 of them. So his season average was 1.1 points per isolation. After February 1st, when we started to give Lauri the ball in pure isolation, stand still, generate yourself circumstances, this is the next step in your development. He was not good. 0.836 is really poor. Of the 100 players that had 50 isolations after February 1st, Lauri Markkanen was the 11th worst in the NBA. Okay? So at 7 feet, that's not a skill he has yet. Those numbers are real. All of these numbers on Lauri to me are very real so far that we saw this year. This show is going to take too long. This is going to be a 2-day show, I think. So those are the two areas, an off-the-bounce three and being able to play with the ball in your hands as an isolation player. Here are the players. There's going to be here are the 11, 12. We'll do 12 because it's interesting. And maybe even, actually, I'll back it up a little. It's pretty interesting. After February 1st, here are the worst isolation players in the NBA. Chris Paul, Jabari Smith, Franz Wagner, Karl Anthony Towns, 51 in like very few games. LeBron James. Age sucks. Lou Dort, Jaden McDaniels, Shaden Sharp, Josh Giddey, Anthony Simons, interesting. Lauri Markkanen, Paulo Banchero, Bradley Beal, DeJounte Murray, Killian Hayes, John Morant. Now, there are two ways to look at this, by the way. If you go just take it, and let me make sure we're just clear on this with Lauri, and give him the benefit of the doubt here for a second. But I mean, I think this is just important. This is what he has to work on. Like, he's not perfect. He's great, but he's not perfect. This is, if we just take it to the February 8th post-trade deadline, that's really when this shows up. This is 58 isolations after the trade deadline when Mike Conley, Malik Beasley aren't on the floor anymore. And he's isolated with a bunch of guys that aren't particularly good shooters. We were the 29th ranked shooting team in the league after the trade deadline, and he's got to try to make isolation plays, and it's really hard. And if you flip it around and put him what he was prior to the trade deadline, he was like one of the best there was in the league. So he's still dependent on who's around him. All right, that's our Lauri Markkanen, what's real, what's not. Most of it was real. Let's look at our Walker Kessler, what's real, what's not, next. This is a little bit of our kind of player breakdown, so we'll get even more in depth in these guys as the week goes on. As this show is now much longer and much more in depth than I thought it was going to be. But I kind of figured that might be the case. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Murdoch Hyundai, located at 4646 South State Street, also located in Logan and in Linden. The Hyundai lineup of cars, just fabulous. The Ioniq was the SUV of the year. It's the electric car. Drive it all the time. We have it. It's just terrific, and it's so funny. My daughter's been driving it most of the time, and the other day she drove her Santa Fe, and she's like, "I had to get gas today." We're like, "Did you remember how?" It's just the Ioniq's been great. We also own two of the Santa Fe's. I'm driving the Santa Cruz, which is the hybrid truck car right now. And the Hyundai lineup of cars is just absolutely fabulous. And the Murdochs are the best. Over 80 years in the business. They want to make sure you have a no regrets experience. So email me first at dlock09@gmail.com. That's dlock09@gmail.com to make sure that we can take care of you and give you that no regrets experience and give you the VIP experience you deserve as a locked on everydayer. So email me at dlock09@gmail.com. Tell me which of the Hyundai locations you're going on. I'll set you up with Jake or Cameron or Casey and give you that great experience over at Murdoch Hyundai, and located in Linden, in Logan, and at 4646 South State Street. Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time. This is fun stuff. This is where you need these kind of people in your lives. This is the place where you go for the upcoming event that you want to go to, and you need the flash deal or the last minute tickets. You're on the road. Didn't realize that the LA Kings were hosting the Colorado Avalanche the other day in LA the night before our game. That's when Game Time kicks in. Easy to find. Buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Images and seat views there, which is nice because you don't want to sit behind a post. Lowest price guaranteed, events cancellation protection, job loss protection as well. Here's what you want. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means that you'll always get the best price if you find tickets in the same section and row for less. Guaranteed. Game Time will credit you 110% on the difference. That's 110% on the difference. It's the fastest growing ticket app in the country for a reason. They give you the images. They get your seats and matters. They go right to your phone so you don't have to dig through your email. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. That's right. Create an account and redeem Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. Thanks so much for being a Locked On everydayer and making us your first listen every single day. We are, as we mentioned, free and available on all podcasting apps, and our YouTube group is awesome and growing, so please subscribe to that. All right, Walker Kessler. It's real. Like, what's real, what's not? Maybe tomorrow we're going to have to change our plan. We were doing 26, 36, 46. This is just taking a little bit longer than I expected. Here's the biggest thing that's real about Walker, and that's the defense. And what he did defensively inside 6 feet, and you can try to look at it every which way and try to poke holes in it, but it was pretty awesome. So what's most awesome about it to me is the Jazz took the time and babied Walker Kessler to start the year. And gave him some moments. He got a start against Jokic in which he ran down the floor and said to Will Hardy, "I'm sorry. I can't, like I'm doing the best I can." He got a start against Rudy Gobert on December 7th, and Rudy pinned him under the basket on the first play of the game, and was kind of this rude reminder of like, oh. And then on January 10th, the 41st game of the year, they just turned it over to him. So, first, if we just take how many field goals anyone defended inside 6 feet, Walker's in the upper echelon, probably top 25 at 6.7 shots defended inside 6 feet. That's just terrific. So that means, first thing, having an impact on the games. So if we take guys that defended at least 4.5 shots a game, we get the top 108 guys in the league at defending the rim. And the best in the league is Giannis. This is why, by the way, the next sentence is why Milwaukee wins the title. Giannis, team shoots 17 percentage points below league average when Giannis is the closest defender inside 6 feet. They shoot 13.5 percentage points below league average when Brook Lopez is the defender. That's second best. The third best in the NBA this year is Walker Kessler. He ended up being better than Jaren Jackson Jr., better than Draymond Green by the end of the year, better than Kristaps Porzingis and Zubac. Walker Kessler minus 13.2 was the number. Now, some of that's inflated by playing less good players early in the year, you would say, against not as a starter. So we go to January 10th and we put that in the filter and say, okay, since from January 10th on, Walker was starting. Well, now Walker's number jumps to 7.8 shots defended a game. He's now in the 8th highest in the NBA of guys defending of shots. And the number one guy in the league is Brook Lopez at minus 17.5. And the number two guy in the league with 4.5 shots defended is Walker Kessler at minus 14.1. So when Walker moved into the starting lineup, he actually got better and he defended more shots. That's real. Let's take one other gap on it. Let's say, okay, teams got used to him and realized he was real somewhere after the All-Star break. So we'll go to February 21st. We've now kind of cut his time in half. So this now, again, Walker now is not defending, he's at 7.8 shots. Similar amount, 21. This is the final 17 games of the year. Teams are now aware. There's a scouting report out. He's been starting for about 6 weeks. There's no mystery about him anymore. So he's still defending 7.8 shots a game. And of the guys who were the best in the league in that period of time, Brook Lopez was at minus 20. Weirdly, Marvin Bagley's in here. Then Giannis. And then Walker Kessler. There's no hole to poke in any of Walker Kessler's defensive numbers in this first year that tell you that it's anything but real. The other one that's great is when you look at the Jazz numbers. Okay, it's great that you defended the rim. What impact are you having on the team? And we look at Walker's on-off numbers, and those are real too. The defense was 5 points better per 100 possessions when he was on the floor. The defense allowed effective field goal percentage of 4 percentage points less. Teams shot 3 percentage fewer shots at the rim when Walker was on the floor, and they made 8 percentage points less. There's just no poking holes in anything involved there on Walker Kessler. Now, same way that we talked about Lauri, that there are some issues that are signs of development, Walker's free throw shooting, we all just kind of danced around it all year. It's a problem. He was at 51.6% at the free throw line. There's no reason for him to be at 51.6%. He's a better free throw shooter than that. With time, hopefully he becomes it. But it has nothing to do with his touch and his ability to shoot free throws other than he gets quick under pressure free throws. That was noticeable how much faster he was in those. And this is going to be an issue. Like, unless he gets it up to 60, 70%, plenty of guys have as they've gotten more comfortable in the league. But if we're just going to be like honest about this and talk about about all the things that are great about him, we kind of danced around it all year. We didn't really ever comment on it, but it's not great. And he wasn't great in college, and 52% is not super. And if he's going to close games and make the plays he made, he's going to end up having to make free throws late in games. Now, with that said, it wasn't as though in the clutch this year, he was 6 of 13, 46%. It's one free throw off his average. Like, I'm not bothered by the fact that he's under, it sounds a lot because he's under 50%. If he'd gone 7 of 13 and one more had gone in, it would have seemed fine. But he's consistent to that. He's 4 of 9 in the final 2 minutes. He's 6 of 13 in the final 5 minutes. So that's an area. It's got to get better. I was going to do Ochai Agbaji. I was going to do the final 20 games, but we've been too good. This was too good on the first 2 days. So we'll do this late. We'll do what else is real and not real, and maybe this won't be quite as positive because I think a lot of the last 20 games is stuff that's probably not real. And so we've got to kind of take a look at that and what that is that wasn't real in the last 20 games as much as what was real here. Ochai Agbaji is super interesting on this conversation, and again, probably worthy of a longer look on this, because on one sense, what I would say on Ochai Agbaji is that it was awesome to get him extended to that level, and it was kind of real. But I don't know what, and I think it was all real because of how far he got extended and how far he got pushed. I don't know what it all means, though. So in the final 22 games, 20 of which he started, Ochai shot 39.5% from the field and 33% from three. That's not great. But the fact that he got 12 shots off a game is great. The fact that we turned the entire offense over to him without other guys around is great. The fact that he suddenly started taking he closed the year on his final 10 games of the year, I think it was, he's taking about 5 free throws a game. His final 10 games, he's taking 7 threes and 3 free throws a game, and he has 4 of those 10 games, I think he took 4 or 5 free throws a game. Now, his final 10 games when he's on the floor with very little else help, he shoots 38% and 28% from 3. So, I don't think that's that was ever expected to do, or a role that we want him to do. And he's 23 here. His birthday's in 9 days. So he's not young. And so it's a little complicated in that I don't think you're trying to turn Ochai into a number 1 guy. I think he showed enough that you, as a developmental project, would probably like him to be your starting shooting guard next year. And see what he can do with it, and see if he can become Norman Powell or Spencer Dinwiddie, but Dinwiddie's really kind of become a go-to guy, one of the best isolation players in the league. I'm not sure Ochai's going to do that. It's an interesting one. We can dig into it a little bit more over time. I'm flummoxed on. I don't think there's anything alarmingly negative there at all, because he was just simply pushed beyond where you'd want him to be, and maybe that's what you've learned. Is that's more than you're ever going to ask out of Ochai again. And so then you back up to okay, well, what's his catch and shoot 3? And you actually have to dig in a little bit on that, and I haven't done it yet, on what's his catch and shoot 3 on the move versus catch and shoot stand still, because I do think stand still is what he's going to end up doing more over time. He shot 47% when he came off the bench. He shot 40% as a starter. He shot 40% from 3 off the bench. He shot 33% as a starter. Those numbers are super different. I do love the 87% free throw shooting in the final 22 games of the season. That's a great sign. So there's a bunch of really interesting things to dig into Ochai, and we'll do more of that as we continue. We'll look at the play-in game and do our lottery here as we continue on today's show of Locked On Jazz. As the NBA playoffs hit, and it's fun and time to be involved in the game, and you don't have a team, well, maybe it's time for a little daily fantasy sports. And Prize Picks is the answer. You pick 2 to 6 players. If they score more or less in the Prize Pick projections, you can win up to 25% of your money. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. It's simple, easy, fast. In fact, entries can be made in less than 60 seconds. Safe and fast and easy withdrawals. And you download the Prize Picks apps or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. Here's the deal. First-time users receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. So if you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code LOCKEDON to sign up for an instant deposit match of $100. In fact, the data I'm about to give you might even help you a little bit coming up. So go to prizepicks.com or go to download the Prize Picks app. Make sure you put Locked On in to get your 100% deposit match and have some fun during the NBA playoffs. For your second listen today, if you'd like to, it's Locked On NBA Big Board's a good call. Get ready for the draft. I'm listening to them every day right now. All right. I wanted to just kind of get us ready for the play-in games today. The Lakers against the Timberwolves without Rudy. I got to tell you, this Rudy thing really is tearing me up. Like, I love Rudy. I think we all know I love Rudy more than anyone. He just makes you wonder. Like, it was just bad. Rudy just keeps changing the narrative of his own career, and it bums me out. I'll just leave it at that. And it makes you do what it does. It makes you, I mean, I don't think there's any question. It makes you wonder, like, is he really just, like, so difficult that it was, like, difficult to come to work every day when he was around? Like, it seems crazy. All right, let's look at this one. Atlanta and Miami today is the first one. This one's fascinating because for a few reasons. One, Atlanta's the 9th best offense in the NBA, and Miami's 25th. Miami's the 7th best defense, and Atlanta's the 21st. So this is a fascinating game because Atlanta lives on the offensive rebounding and by not turning it over. They're not actually a great shooting team. They're 21st in the league in shooting. And so they really live by the offensive rebound, which they're not going to get against Miami in the playoffs. Miami's the 4th best defensive rebounding team in the league. But Miami really can't shoot. Like, Miami is the 25th best shooting team in the league. And now maybe as they're healthy and they have everyone out there and they've got their gumption, it's Spoelstra versus Snyder. It's an incredible coaching matchup. You'll see that. But what's interesting about Atlanta, for as good as they are offensively, and I haven't necessarily run this since, Quinn took over right around, I think, right after the All-Star break. So I'll see if they change. Their offense has been really good under Quinn. Their defense is not. Since February 20th, Atlanta, who was 15th in the league in the season and half-court offense, has jumped to 11th. But again, they're the number 2 offensive rebounding team in the league. They're crashing the glass. That's what their offense is predicated on. And they get the most plays off putbacks of anyone in the league. So this is, I just don't, I think this is going to be a real problem for Atlanta to be able to get those opportunities and those offensive rebounds in that matchup. Brian Bailey's going to join us for Thursday's show and talk to me about and kind of, do some breakdowns and kind of stuff like this on the other playoff series. We'll know 3 of the 4 playoff series, hopefully, if he's available. I have not actually arranged it. I've just talked to him briefly. Miami in the half court is 23rd in the league in half court. So it's a labor for them to score. Late games, though, Miami got much better late in the year when they really went to Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo stuff with a right wing Jimmy Butler isolation. And they looked much better doing that late in games. Miami's half-court defense is not great. It's only 16th in the league, so they may have a hard time slowing down Atlanta. All right, let's switch to the other one. It's Minnesota and the Lakers. Obviously, we're rooting for the Lakers. We would like Minnesota to end up in the lottery. As much as I like Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert, I'm going to probably would like Minnesota to lose. Minnesota's not a good offensive team, and they're actually, since adding Mike Conley, they did not get better. This is an interesting game because neither of these teams are very good offensively. So February 9th was the trade deadline. Both these teams kind of redid who they are. After February 9th, Minnesota was 21st in the league offensively. The Lakers were only 16th. However, the Lakers were the number 1 defensive team in the NBA after they got rid of Russell Westbrook. Minnesota was 14th in the league defensively in that same time period. The Lakers really, only thing they do super well is go to the free throw line and don't foul. And Minnesota is the worst in the league, second to worst in the league at fouling, and they don't go to the line much. This game will be determined by the Lakers' ability to have a free throw advantage, and then everyone will be irate about it. But they are the third best offense in the league at getting the line for shots taken. They're the number one team in the league by a huge margin of not fouling. And Minnesota is 28th in the league at fouling. Without Rudy Gobert and without Jaden McDaniels, their two best defensive players, this could be a real issue for them. And they're not a great offensive team. Now, the other one is the Lakers just don't shoot a ton of threes. So that will be an interesting one to look at, is whether or not Minnesota, who doesn't, Chris Finch likes the three, but they don't live by it. But without Rudy and suddenly playing Karl Anthony Towns spread out, you may see them shoot a ton of threes in this game and really let it fly. And that's where they're going to get their advantage, because they're going to lose the free throw line in this game. The other one to take a quick look at is half-court offense since that date. Lakers half-court offense since the trades are 22nd in the league. Minnesota is 19th. So neither of these teams were good in half-court offense, just on pure half-court offense. Defensively in the half-court, though, Lakers were the fourth best defense, and Minnesota still was 17th. Minnesota, without Rudy, should be able to score better by spreading the floor, keep Karl Anthony Towns spreading it out. Karl Anthony Towns' playoff history is a little funky. He got real weird last year in the playoffs with some almost intentionally fouling, really weird theatrics, was way out there. It's worth keeping an eye on and see how he deals with the pressure, because it's going to be amped up on him this year, and see how that works. When Mike Conley's off the floor, keep an eye on how they do offensively. They've struggled badly when he's off the floor, but they are 6 points per 100 possessions better when Rudy Gobert is off the floor offensively, and that's going to be their biggest challenges if they can score. All right, that's my little quick playoff preview for you. Hope you like those, because it hopefully makes it watch better. Are we ready? We're 35 days away from the lottery, so we're going to do this every day. We're supposed to hit 20% of the time in the top four pick. 4.5% of the time is number one. So one day between now and the lottery, we should hit this little simulator button on Tankathon and get a first pick. Is it today? Here we go. The number one pick of the draft to the Utah Jazz. There was our 4%. We got Victor. Boom! Night out. I'll know who watched the show all the way to the end, because you'll be emailing me, today's the day, today's the day, today's the day. Hit me on Twitter. Victor! Victor! Be up every dayers. You were there for it. Victor! We got